Wow, that was very prompt. Thank you very much. Hi, my name is Kate Buchanan. I'd like to welcome you to the 2016 Scholarship and Fellowship Luncheon. I have the pleasure of serving as the Associate Dean for Alumni and Development at Duke Law School. And in this capacity, I have met hundreds of outstanding Duke Law students and amazing alumni as well. It's a real treat. And on a day like today, we get to come together and celebrate Duke Law School. Great students we have here at the school and the amazing sponsors of their educational pursuits. Feel free to eat, by the way, while I'm speaking. Thank you. We have a tremendous group of law students here at Duke. Not only do they bring considerable intellectual firepower to the school, but they're talented and interesting, and they want to make the world a better place. They bring unique perspectives and diverse backgrounds to our community. Our newest class of 222 JDs represents over 119 undergraduate institutions. They come from 38 different states, 8 different countries, and our 97 LLMs represent 41 different foreign countries. Our student body includes military veterans, Teach for America instructors, global policy and communications strategists, bankers, accountants, government staffers, and international human rights advocates. While at Duke Law School, we aim to develop these students into highly skilled lawyers who possess strong leadership skills. They have the ability to adapt to unanticipated circumstances, and they know how to bring out the best in others. The last decade has seen shifts in the legal landscape, and applications to law schools nationwide have dropped substantially. But that is not the trend at Duke Law. There has never been a greater need for the type of really good counselors, problem solvers, defenders of the rule of law, and leaders that Duke Law produces each year. Students want to come to Duke, and we are committed to do everything that we can to recruit the best and brightest students, regardless of their financial means, to our school. I'm pleased to report that during the Duke Forward campaign so far, donors have established 51 new scholarship and fellowship endowments, plus an additional 15 provided for in their estate plans. More than 30 of these new scholarships were established with matching money from the Elizabeth and Stanley Star Financial Aid Challenge Fund. Elizabeth and Stanley, thank you. If you all scan the room today, you can see the reach of your support. Your initial gift has already been multiplied by 30 times with these new scholarship endowments. And in future years, generations of students that are awarded scholarships from these new endowments, the multiplier will continue to grow. I'd like to add my special personal thanks from me and my husband Phil, who's here, my mom Dale, who's here, and my brother, because you helped make it possible for us to establish a scholarship in my father's memory. Thank you. My dad was a Laddie boy, recruited by Dean Laddie from Northwestern Ohio, and he came to Duke to become a member of the great class of 1967. I see his classmate Bill Womble here. And I look forward to raising a glass in celebration of Duke Law School and that great class at their 50th reunion in April. Students, congratulations on your academic achievements. To this point, you've worked so hard to be here, and we're very excited about your future. I encourage you during lunch today to get to know the alumni and donors in this room. Ask them to share their stories and the stories of the people whose scholarships they represent. Their tremendous successes, but also their hardships and their occasional missteps are instructive. You may come to understand that they were once in your shoes, and they may see themselves in you. Think about the positive influence that their support has had in your life. For some of you, your scholarship offer was the deciding factor in coming to Duke Law School, or may have even been just the factor in deciding if you could attend law school at all. For many of you, the fact that you received aid will free you to make career decisions based upon what you want to do and where you want to do it, rather than what you must do in order to manage the considerable burden of debt. You put in the hard work to put yourself in this position, but in all likelihood, you didn't do it alone. Perhaps your parents, your teachers, coaches, family, friends, or other loved ones provided support to you in this endeavor. And your scholarship sponsors did as well. Your tuition bill did not magically get reduced or disappear. Real people like Happy and Sherry and Jan and David and Peter and Debbie and Nora and all of the donors in this room chose to invest in you. Alumni and friends, you are in the company of the future's great leaders and problem solvers. Today, ask them about their path to Duke, their aspirations for the future. What are the legal issues that pique their interest? What are the wrongs in the world that they hope to right with their legal training? How do they imagine contributing to the profession? I hope that you can see during these conversations that your gifts to financial aid do not just go into a generic account. You have made a choice to invest your hard-earned dollars to lend a helping hand to students like Megan, like David and Logan, like Jenny and Christian. Finally, a quick welcome to the faculty. You're a huge reason that these great students come to study law and launch their legal career at Duke. The affection that our students have for the faculty is evident in so many ways. One of the most touching is when former students choose to honor their beloved professors and deans by extending their legacy through a named scholarship. Academic legends of Duke Law School like Dean Claude Horak, Robinson O. Everett, Dean Pamela Gann, and recently retired David Lang, just to name a few, are honored and remembered each year when a scholarship recipient proudly carries their name. These legacies and these connections are what make Duke Law so special. Thank you all for being here to celebrate our Duke family. Please enjoy your meal, and Dean Levi will resume the program after we eat. Thank you.
Well, there's a happy buzz in the room, and I hate to interrupt your lunch and your good conversations. This is always such a happy time of year for me. It's before Halloween, which is intense here in the Triangle if you've never experienced it, but even more to the point, we're coming up on Thanksgiving, and this is sort of a preview of Thanksgiving because it's a room full of people that we are so grateful to and so thankful to. The students, the school, and I think also the donors are very grateful to have had the opportunity to do something really special. I want to thank members of the faculty and staff who are here today. Maybe just raise your hand and wave so we get to acknowledge you. And there are quite a few members of the Law School Leadership Board who are here in their capacity as donors. And thank you very much. And maybe you'll also acknowledge the cheers of the crowd. This very special luncheon gives us the opportunity to honor the dedication of previous generations of Duke Law graduates in supporting the generations that come after them. Probably some of you have heard me call this a handshake across the generations. And what I find inspiring is here we are, a young school. We're not even 100 years old. But imagine someday, let's say 10,000 years from now, when tuition at Duke Law School is $60 million a year. And but it will be also wonderful to think that the scholarships, the Blue Family Scholarship, it'll be paying out. We hope if DUMAC does its job, it'll be paying out, $60 million a year, and that'll be very exciting for all of us. But seriously, years and years and years from now, people will receive these scholarships and they'll think there was a beating heart and a caring person who sacrificed and for whom this was meaningful. And that's what makes a great institution, because all of our institutions, after all, are aggregations of people who care about one another, care about some idea or some goal, and then together they pool their resources, and it is said that we are so much stronger together. I've heard that said. And in this context, and perhaps in others, it is certainly the case, and it's really mysterious. That's the beauty and the power of philanthropy. It's unusual and extremely welcome when a single philanthropist can make a huge difference, and there is one couple in the room who have done that for this law school. For most of us, it is the ability to be philanthropic in a setting in which others have the same goal and the same intent, and then together we really make the difference. So to our donors, I say to you that your support for student scholarships is evidence of your extraordinary commitment that characterizes our alumni community, and also your faith, your abiding faith, and hope in the future of our school, and the future, of course, of the wonderful students who are here today and who gratefully receive your help. Kate mentioned that a scholarship is so important to so many of our students and can make the difference truly to keeping the doors of the law school open to deserving and capable students who wish to come here. It's a sad thing for me that although we have done so very well in the scholarship area, and this is probably our highest priority, and you'll hear in a moment that Nancy and I have also endowed a scholarship because of our passion for this, that students still graduate from Duke Law School with about $140,000 of debt. And anything that we can do to hold that down and to decrease it is so clearly very, very important to us. Since our last luncheon in February of 2015, I'm pleased to share that we have awarded 15 new scholarships. The BA and JW Scholarship, the Richard Bear and Ann Carson Bear Scholarship, the George Christie Scholarship, the Duke Law Faculty Financial Aid Scholarship. Let me just pause there for a moment. Our faculty got together and created a scholarship that they could, as a group, donate to. What a wonderful thing for a faculty to do. The Katharine R. and Robinson O. Everett Scholarship, Katharine, I should have said. The David W. Eichel Duke Leadership Law Scholarship, another notable scholarship. The Thomas Jordan Memorial Scholarship. The Elvin R. Laddie Scholarship, the wonderful Dean Laddie. The David Lender Scholarship. The David F. Levy and Nancy Ranney Scholarship, the wonderful Nancy Ranney. The William R. the William R. Patterson Scholarship, the Gregory J. Rufa and Lisa M. Gallagher Scholarship, the Fred H. and Betty S. Steffi Law Scholarship, the Corinne and Lindsay Stewart Scholarship, and the Richard R. Swan Scholarship. Thank you all very much. That's just remarkable. Now I'm going to ask all of our scholarship recipients to do the daring thing of just standing up here for a moment and accepting the recipients. Oh, there are a few in the room. Scholarship students, yes, please. It's good. Thank you. You are experts in sitting for very long periods of time, and that's beginning to show a little bit. You know, we put a lot of hope in you and your futures, and we hope that someday, truly, you'll be part of this sort of seamless web, and that you'll find yourself sitting where others are sitting, and that you in turn will be able to say to some other young person, he's talking about you and you should stand up, and that you'll be able to endow your own scholarship and be part of the handshake from the from the other side. So congratulations. Now, it is my particular pleasure to introduce our alumni speaker, Nora Jordan. Nora is just remarkable in every way, just a wonderful person, a wonderful lawyer. She's a partner in the New York office of Davis Polk and Wardwell. She's been head of the Davis Polk Investment Management Group for 13 years. Her group was named the Investment Fund's Client Service Team of the Year at the Chambers USA Awards. She's a member of the firm's recruiting committee. She served as chair of the Davis Polk Compensation Committee, which I think must be a very good thing to chair. She earned her JD from Duke Law in 1983. She went to Notre Dame before that, and she's on our Law Board of Visitors. At Duke, she comes down often. She's in huge demand from our students. She speaks on topics in her field. She's served as a host for a recent financial markets panel up in New York. We've had admitted students reception in her firm's offices with her as the master of ceremonies, and those have always been wonderful. She's been very actively involved as well with the American Skin Association, which is a nonprofit that funds research and education on melanoma and other skin diseases. She's married to Alan Reiser, who's also a member of the Duke Law School class of 1983. So this is a Duke Law marriage. And I don't know whether she purchased the marital guarantee certificate from Duke Law when they got married, but apparently it worked pretty well. And they have 3 daughters who are Julia, Martha, and Mary, and they are respectively a medical student, a law student, and an MBA student. So it's obvious that a consulting firm is not far off in the future, and or perhaps a hedge fund, and we should probably all ask about that and see if we can't invest in it. And as a demonstration, and this is the real point, of their commitment to financial aid and to others who follow at Duke Law, Nora and her husband have established the Thomas Jordan Memorial Scholarship, which is in the memory of Nora's father. Please welcome this wonderful Duke Law graduate.
Thank you, Dean Levy. When my husband and I decided to give a scholarship at Duke Law School, it was immediately apparent whose name we would put on it, Thomas Jordan, my father. Now, before I go any further, my mother is alive, and she will hear about this, and so I want you to know she's also a wonderful person, but she would be the first to say that my father should get the scholarship in his name. My father was born in the west of Ireland in 1926, and he attended a local one-room schoolhouse until he was about 14 years old. He loved school, he was a star student, and his teachers encouraged my grandparents to send him off to the city to school. But there simply was no money for that, and so instead, at the age of 14, he quit school to work full-time on his farm and also at his aunt and uncle's general store. He spent his free time, though, educating himself about history, politics, medical breakthroughs. He was interested in all knowledge. And then, when he was 28 years old, he married my mother, who was from a neighboring town and also from a farm, who talked him into emigrating in 1958, shortly before I was born, to the land of opportunity, the United States. And that is literally how my parents talked about the United States my entire life, the land of opportunity. Now, although that sounds nice, maybe a little cliche-ish, when you're the children of parents who think that, there's nothing you can do to please them. Because this is America, of course you got that. My sister won a Pulitzer Prize, and my mother looked in the paper, saw the list of names in different categories, and said, a lot of people won that prize. I made partner at my law firm. She said, that's good. She calls me the next day and she says, I told my friends about it. They've never heard of Davis Polk. So it kept us grounded. But one of the things my father loved most about the United States was the opportunity for education. And he talked about taking advantage of that opportunity from the time we were little. To him, becoming educated was one of the most important things we could do. School was always a priority. You didn't miss it unless you were dead. And once a week, after working all day as a laborer, on the one night he didn't have a second job, did I mention we had 7 children? He took us to the library, which was a walk 30 minutes each way so that we could get books. The fact that my parents didn't own a car until I was 10 and we had 6 children, but yet we all went to parochial private school where you had to pay tuition, tells you a little bit about where education ranked in their priorities. At night, my father would give us riddles to solve, he'd quiz us on spelling, and help us with math. And what I find interesting in retrospect is that he stressed education for the sake of education. He didn't talk about getting ahead. He talked about being a good person and the importance of understanding the world we live in. But even my parents, with their faith in the American dream, knew that college was for the rich, and it was too expensive for them to consider. When my older brother was in high school, their hope was that he would become a policeman after graduation, and he would not have to be a laborer. My older brother, however, on his own, applied to what my parents had always talked about as the finest university in America. Not Duke, the University of Notre Dame, the home of the Fighting Irish. He was accepted, and soon my parents learned about grants, loans, work study, and scholarships. Eventually, all my siblings went to college. We even ventured, some of us, beyond Notre Dame, although when my sister decided to go to Stanford, my mother said, "Never heard of it, heard of Notre Dame." So we ended up with 3 lawyers who all became partners at law firms, 1 doctor who's the chief medical officer at her hospital in California, 1 executive at Hewlett-Packard, 1 head of economic development in Ohio, and 1 Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist at the Washington Post. But none of that would have been possible without the efforts of my father to instill a love of learning, and none of it would have been possible without scholarships. It is therefore with great appreciation to Duke for all the financial help it gave me when I was in law school that Alan and I have given this scholarship in my father's name. My hope is that all of the scholarship recipients who are here today will one day be back at Duke, sitting at this lunch in the role of donors, or helping students in other ways by mentoring. Paying it forward is very rewarding, and particularly for me today, because I was able to use this opportunity to honor my father. Thank you. Okay. Now, I would like to introduce our student speaker and recipient of the R.C. Mordecai Scholarship. Megan Ault is a second-year law student who graduated summa cum laude from the University of Pittsburgh, where she was Phi Beta Kappa and a university scholar. Megan was an undergraduate research fellow and received the Chancellor's Undergraduate Teaching Award for her work as a teaching assistant. She was also president of the Pi Sigma Alpha Political Science Honor Society. And I'm not even listing all the stuff she did in college. After college, she worked as an operations manager for Campbell Development, a land services company for the oil, gas, real estate, and utilities industries. She also worked on the Obama campaign, and she was a community development intern in Ohio. At Duke Law, she serves as co-president of the Environmental Law Society, and she's a case manager for the Duke Innocence Project. This past summer, she interned with the National Resources Defense Council in Montana, and next summer, Megan will be working with the Environment and Energy Group at Morrison & Foerster in San Francisco. So, Megan.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, and thank you all for being here today. As you just heard, I'm from Northeast Ohio. As such, I feel obligated to throw a LeBron James quote in here right off the bat. Since we're a basketball school, I figured you would all be okay with that. On his return to Cleveland in July of 2014, LeBron had this to say about where we're from. In Northeast Ohio, nothing is given, everything is earned, you work for what you have. I used that quote in my personal statement when I was applying to law school because I thought in some ways where I was from set me apart from other potential law students. I went to a high school where less than half of my class would graduate from college. We didn't have AP courses. We didn't even have field trips for a while. But being at Duke has shown me that I'm not alone in valuing every opportunity that comes my way and not taking any of those opportunities for granted. I'm looking at my fellow classmates in this room, of which there are many, and they are some of the most humble and hardworking people I know. And I'm also looking around and I see so many of you who also don't take your privileges and opportunities for granted. And I know that because you're here for contributing to our opportunities. You've leveraged the opportunities that have come your way and put the benefits of your hard work and pass them on to us. On behalf of these classmates and myself, I'm up here to thank you today. It wasn't that long ago that I was mopping the floor of a bar after a long shift making cocktails for $3.98 an hour plus tips. That time I knew I wanted to go to law school, but I wasn't sure how I was going to make that happen. I'd been incredibly fortunate to receive a scholarship to go to the University of Pittsburgh, where I threw myself into my classes, into student organizations, and into my campus job because I knew I was lucky to be even going to college, let alone a place like Pitt. There's probably a Hamilton musical reference here, something about shots and not throwing them away. When I graduated from Pitt, I knew I was going to need to start working and saving if I ever hoped to go to law school. I got a job at the mall. They had 40% discount on professional clothes, and I started bartending back in Home Sweet Youngstown. I had never bartended before in my life. I just walked into a local place and told them I would do whatever they needed. The owner of that establishment took a big risk by putting me behind his bar. It was a brand new place he was just opening, and I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't mind staying late to close the bar because I just felt lucky to be there. And I feel lucky to be here at Duke. No matter how late I'm up working, no matter how heavy my backpack is, I'm constantly remembering how fortunate I am to be exhausted from working with my brain all day, because so many people are not lucky to do that. I picked my job for this upcoming summer, at least in part because of some of the people I met during my interview process. One of the partners interviewing me stopped mid-conversation and pulled a black and white photo out of his desk. It was a picture of his family a century ago in Pittsburgh, back in its smokestack heyday. He told me he keeps it in his desk because it helps him remember how fortunate he is to have the job that he has and to have the career that he has had. That's a guy I want to work with. And I'm working alongside those people here at Duke. Whether it's working to serve the wrongfully convicted as part of the Innocence Project, serving as a guardian ad litem, or creating new student organizations that contribute to the dialogue and culture here at our school, my fellow students are making the most of their opportunity here, and they're not taking it for granted. I have no doubt that my friends will go on to do great things for the profession and their communities. With no small thanks to this tremendous start they're getting here at Duke Law. Without your generosity and the R.C. Mordecai Law Scholarship that I'm getting, R.C. Kelly Law Mordecai Scholarship that I'm getting, this great start would have been out of reach for me. I know how easily my story could have been very different, so there's no way that I could take this opportunity for granted. There's actually very little in my life that I can take as a given, even something as simple as my height. My younger sister was born with a form of dwarfism that made her limbs shorter than those of the average person. As a teenager, she underwent more than a dozen limb lengthening surgeries where they break the bones and pull them apart for new growth to occur in between. The process is pretty painful, and hers took a span of 6 years. I know this much. My sister has earned every inch of the 11 inches she grew in height. Like a good Northeast Ohioan, she'd say, if I want the results, I had to put in the work first. Something that I always remind myself around exam time. My sister is now planning her career as an occupational therapist, a path that would have been a lot harder if she hadn't struggled through the limb lengthening process. The career she wants is now within her grasp, and thanks to the generosity of Duke donors, so is mine. I've benefited so much from being a part of the Duke community already. I've gotten to work on environmental projects for nonprofits in the state of North Carolina and in Montana this summer. I've gotten to know that my professors aren't just personable at the front of the room, but also in their office hours and on their days off too. If you had walked into that bar in Youngstown, Ohio, and told me all of this, and that in a few short years, Justice Alito would be dropping by to go teach my contracts class, I would never have believed these things were possible for me. Perhaps most importantly, every day at Duke, I find myself sitting next to bright and engaged students, each with a story to tell about how hard they work and why. My story is apparently a jumble of Cleveland sports heroes, a blue-collar town from a Springsteen song, and my little sister. But it says a lot about Duke Law that it's a place that makes these opportunities possible and makes them possible for people like me who might not be able to afford their education without help. I'm so grateful to those who have helped me get here, my parents, my sister, and the Ohio community that taught me to work hard. But I'm grateful to those too who didn't know me, but whose generosity and my scholarship have also helped make my time here at Duke possible. On behalf of myself and my fellow scholarship and fellowship recipients, I want to again say thank you and promise you that we're going to make the best of this remarkable opportunity. Thank you. You may have noticed I've been shaking this entire time, partially because I'm really nervous and partially because that LeBron James quote is from a list of quotes that are guaranteed to make you cry, so I'm holding that back too. Now I have the privilege of introducing Dean Lewis Hutchison, dewclaws Assistant Dean for Student Affairs. Before coming to Duke, Dean Hutchison was most recently the Assistant Dean for Admissions and Financial Aid at the University of South Carolina in Columbia. Dean Hutchison joined us at Duke in March, and the students, including me and my other lead fellows, are thrilled to have him. Please join me in welcoming Dean Hutchison.
As you all just heard, I've been here for less than a year, and when I speak with friends and family, they'll frequently ask, "What do you think of Duke?" And my response is simple. They're talented, they work hard, and they care. And the question is, are you talking about students, faculty, staff, the alums? And my answer is yes, all of the above, all of the above. I've been thoroughly impressed by everything that I've seen here over my last 7 or 8 months. Megan, like you, I am in awe and feel so fortunate to be here at Duke. Working with these students has given me life once again and given me a much, much greater appreciation for working with students that I haven't felt in quite some time. In my role, I work closely with students as they make their way through the law school. Usually my interactions with students will be in regards to student organizations, health and wellness, or accessibility. Once a year, I am lucky enough to host Dedicated to Durham, a volunteer program where the entering law students will go into the community and perform various acts of service. Recently, I was asked about this program, and I explained that Dedicated to Durham set off a chain reaction of good. Students felt good about giving back to those who cannot presently help themselves. Students also learned that one person can make a difference. Along with that, students are able to let their local community know that they care and they want to see the Durham community grow and prosper. Once again here, my description is interchangeable. I could be talking about the entering class and Dedicated to Durham, or about this generous group that is dedicated to Duke. You are giving back to our students who cannot presently help themselves. You are sending a clear message to the students that we care. We care about you and this community, and we want to see it and you grow and prosper. You've already heard how your donations help to determine, in no small part I might add, the class we receive. I was a law school admissions officer for about 15 years before I made my way to Duke Student Affairs. And I can tell you, the amount of scholarship dollars available will have an effect on every class in every law school every year. The students who receive the scholarships you support will know your names. They will list you on their resumes, and they will continue to feel a connection and deep appreciation for your role in launching their careers. That is a powerful connection indeed. As I close, I am reminded that I once heard someone say that you can tell how much a person values your gift based on what they do with it. With your gifts, we continue the legacy of bringing in a great class with minds full of ability and with hearts that care. Thank you for making it possible for us to continue the legacy. Thank you for your faith in us and your faith in them. And ladies and gentlemen, this does conclude our program, but we invite you to hang around and fellowship and chat a little bit more with the folks around your table and with some of your fellow alums and students.